What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Talking Sports podcast right here on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Once again, we appreciate you guys either clicking, watching, listening to this video, or whatever you guys are doing with this episode. You can tell by the title that we haven't created yet when we're started talking, but we're going to be talking about the NBA. The NBA season just concluded their All-Star break. They're going into their last 20 to 30 games, their home stretch. So before the playoffs kick off, Jared and I are kind of going to go back and forth and just kind of preview the rest of the season, the outlook for the rest of the season, what to expect for the rest of the season, and then maybe some of our thoughts heading into the postseason. But before we do that, Jared, how are you doing? And where can everyone follow us on social media? And who are we sponsored by?
It's a lot. I'm doing good. Please follow us if you haven't already on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Talking Sports PD. We really, if you like listening to our videos, we post a lot more content on our social medias. So please throw us that follow at Talking Sports PD. And then also, like Pete mentioned, Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code TSP when signing up for the first time, and they will match your deposit up to $100, 100% of your deposit. They'll match. So just double your money and hopefully win some bets. So code TSP Underdog Fantasy. It's that time of the year. March is coming around. It's a good time to, throw a little parlay in there. So at Underdog Fantasy, code TSP.
Speaking of March, we'll have some March Madness content coming out for you guys as always. We'll get you guys some baseball content. We're going to start doing a little bit of player rankings like we did for football, for basketball. So like Jared said, if you guys do want to see that, you're not going to find that on YouTube. You're going to find that on our social media. Everything is in the description, or just type in the Talking Sports PD on X, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So when we decided to record this episode, guys, we really didn't have, we're not having banners. We don't have like a really structure we follow like we usually do. I'm not saying we have a script, but we have a structure, kind of what we're going to talk about. But we just want to kind of break down what the remaining of the season of the NBA looks like, following the next 20 to 30 games, and where the standings sit. We're recording this on Sunday. You guys will be seeing this on Sunday, February, whatever it is, 25th. So, Jared, let's start with the Eastern Conference, right? So you got Boston as the 1 seed, and then followed by Cleveland, Milwaukee, the Knicks, Philly, and Orlando. Those teams, and then obviously Indiana and Miami. Those teams, respectively, are really jumbled right now. And obviously, you have Boston 8 games up over Cleveland at the moment. Throw Boston to the side for right now, because unless something crazy happens, they're going to get the 1 seed. But what do you look for in those 2 to 8 teams, because they're so, I guess, tightly knit?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just first say, like, the 1 through 5, I'll throw Boston in the mix right before.
Okay.
Like, those are the teams that, like, I feel like it was kind of not the order, but it was chalk of like who's going to be a top 5 team in the East. I don't know. The Cavs did well last year, so I presume they would be. But throwing Boston out of the mix, I mean, I'd say the scariest team out of those is still Milwaukee. They're still figuring themselves out. But in the playoffs, going against Dame and Giannis, like that's still a very scary team. And they're new. They're figuring each other out for the year. I think them not being like a 1 seed or even a 2 seed is not too concerning at the moment. Just because they still have that, those players on their team. That's gonna, be scary in the playoffs. Other than that, Cleveland, they're still, to me, they're still like kind of like the Nuggets were, not comparing them teams, but like really good regular season team, gets wins together. Just an overall good group, like a good team led by Donovan Mitchell. And then, the Knicks, they're figuring it out, like Jalen Brunson and then Dante. I mean, I know Julius Randle's hurt, but they're just a tough group to play against. They play hard. That will benefit them in the playoffs when it's just a physical, game. It gets more physical in the playoffs. And then, I'm sorry, I'm just going down teams. But, and then the 76ers, Joel Embiid injuries hurts them in the regular season. But, the Sixers don't scare me, I wouldn't say, in the playoffs at least.
You mentioned Philly because that's where I was going to go. They're
Sorry, I
tough.
totally kind of disregarded the question you asked me.
No,
You said
no, you're good,
Bengals.
man. Philly's tough to evaluate just
They are.
because Embiid's not there, right? Like you have, let's say the season ends today, right? You would have a Knicks Philly matchup, right? And the Knicks have had a better season than Philly. The problem is, if you're a Knicks fan, Philly's coming in with the best player in that
Yeah.
season. If Embiid's healthy and if Embiid is playing, right? So I think I think Philly's a dark horse. It's a weird.
Yeah, my thing with Philly is like I mean, they've had the best player usually in their playoff series. Joel Embiid won MVP last year. They just don't figure it out. They don't know how to get a win, like
I
a
think
series win.
this might be the. I'm not saying this is the year, but like I think they're usually a top 3 seed in the East, right? Like that's what
Usually,
they've
yeah.
been in years past, right? And they failed it either in the conference semis or whatever they failed in, right? They can't get over the hump, and that's been their knock. What's one of the reasons Doc Rivers is not there anymore. And he's coaching. He was in TV, and then he's coaching Milwaukee. But I think maybe playing devil's advocate here, if Philly's coming in with little less expectations, right?
Yeah,
Missing
definitely.
Embiid for the most of the year, that maybe that is beneficial, right? Because they're not coming in. They'll still have pressure on them because if you have Embiid, you're always going to have pressure on you, and you're maxi two really, really, really good basketball players. You're going to have pressure on you, but maybe it's a little bit different here, right? And maybe they're a little hungrier, and no one's talking about them, and maybe they're flying under the radar. Maybe that's exactly what they need. You brought up Milwaukee, right?
Mhm.
I think they're the most fascinating team in the Eastern Conference,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. With those
They
two
fi-
superstars on their team.
yeah, they fire their coach midseason, right? And Milwaukee's been one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. They've gotten
Mhm.
better since Doc come on board, but they haven't won a lot of games since Doc has come on board. They did have a nice win over Minnesota a night or two ago, which maybe they're turning in the right direction post All-Star break, right? But you have Giannis and you have Dame, you have Chris Middleton, you have Brook Lopez, right? Like that's a legit roster that can win an NBA championship, in my opinion.
Oh
They
yeah.
just haven't put it together, and they haven't played great defensively. And I do think I think Dame's having a good year, but I also think he's not. I'm gonna phrase this wrong, but like I think Giannis is playing a little bit too ball dominant at the moment, and have to kind of let Dame also do his thing a little more. Kind of
Yeah.
let Dame be himself, and maybe not saying Giannis take a back seat because top 2 or 3 player in the league should not be taking a back seat to Damian Lillard, who's
Mhm.
really good but not there. But I do think maybe they're not fully maximizing Damian Lillard's potential because you brought him in to score. You brought him in to handle the ball. You brought him in to facilitate the offense. You brought him in to take that shot when you need to take a shot, right? You didn't bring him in to play defense. So I feel like if you're not maximizing his offense, then he becomes kind of counterproductive.
Yeah, so that is like an interesting point you brought up because I agree. You brought Dame in the score. You brought him to be that second guy where they can't just double Giannis and leave,
Yeah.
like Damian Lillard. He could get a bucket, so can Giannis. But I mean, Damian Lillard's never been like a facilitate the offense guy.
Okay.
Like he's been a scorer and really good at that. Don't get me wrong. And not saying he can't facilitate an offense, but he's not. I feel like Giannis facilitates it a little better. But I agree he shouldn't be as. It's like a weird dynamic because yes, Damian Lillard's the point guard. Point guards are the ones that are supposed to have the ball in their hand. But like Damian Lillard, at least he always just looks to score, whereas Giannis, at least I think he reads the defense a little better,
Mhm.
and because he demands so much attention. If he hits the ball on the ground, they double him and then he just kicks it out or something
Mhm.
like that. But I do agree they got to figure out like a blend, a mix.
Because you want to maximize his
You want to
offensive
maximize Dame. You don't want to make him just a 3-point spot up shooter. You know.
because he doesn't give you anything defensively. No, not
Yeah.
saying he doesn't give you anything defensively. That might be the wrong state, but he's not a great defender, right?
Yeah.
Like what you
No.
lost in Drew Holiday in Boston now. So you
And it
brought him
showed.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you brought him in to score. You brought him in to be that second superstar that they didn't really have, even when they won in the championship.
I
I
mean,
don't
just
think.
think about like what the pick and roll with Dame and Giannis could be. You know,
Yeah,
there's
and
so
Damon
many different
or
outcomes of
Damon
that. You can't
and
guard
Damon
every
Brook
outcome.
because
What?
Brook and you can do Damon Brook as well because Brook can spot up hit that three.
Or even little Chris Middleton action. Not saying he's gonna be center
Yeah,
court,
I just
but
think Milwaukee's my biggest. They intrigue me the most, right?
yeah,
Because
They have the most. I think they have the most potential in the East.
Yes. Do they turn it on in the playoffs, right? And maybe down the stretch in the post All-Star break we saw against Minnesota, maybe they kind of figure out. Well, let's talk about the Knicks.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's talk
because 34-23 as of Sunday, which you guys will be seeing this. This game is obviously later today. I don't think the Knicks played. They just come off a loss against Boston, right?
Which is it's a fine loss.
It's a fine loss. That Julius Randle injury is a bit of a concern. They're expected to get him back. They've also
as of now he's supposed to not go get surgery.
Yeah, I think so, right? And then Julius Randle, Julius Randle hasn't been good in the postseason. Like that's been the biggest knock on him. He's like a 17 point per game scorer, averages I think 34% from the field in the postseason. Like they're not winning shit with that kind of stat. The thing with the Knicks, right? And I love Jalen Brunson. He's become superstar is a strong word, but he's become stardom. He's grown into an elite NBA player, right? I think Bogdan Bogdanović was a great pickup. They have Dante DiVincenzo. The thing is, you do all of that, and then you get potentially Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in the first round. I feel like that's insane. So like the Knicks, like if the Knicks don't get to the second round, it's a disappointment. But unless they get to the 2 seed, that first round matchup is going to be really tough.
No, it is, and I agree. Julius Randle, whether he comes back, he has not been good in the playoffs, and honestly, I don't know the reason for that because I mean they double him, and he doesn't know how to like really read a defense and see the double coming.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's a bad because in the playoffs it's more half court basketball, and you got to be good at that. It's not like he's a bad half court player. I just don't think he really sees the floor as well. I don't even know, but yes, I agree that getting a draw of the Philadelphia 76ers first round, you have to go against the former MVP. That's tough. That's tough.
You're not getting rewarded for finishing top 4 in the East.
But I might get a lot of hate from the New York fans, but like to me, this team, as good as they could be, like they're not there yet to compete for a finals. Even if they have a great run, like they don't have the star power.
I don't think they can compete for a finals. But if you and I went out on the streets, because we live in New York, we went to New York City and we started polling Knicks fans, man.
Oh, right? They're excited about this team. It's the best team they've had in a while.
And we ask them, what round do they have to get to for not to be a disappointing end to the season? It's the floor is the second round.
Yeah.
If you flip on when you're working, you got like 10 minutes during the day, and you flip on WFAN, the New York Sports Radio, man, and they start talking with the Knicks. These hosts are like, they even go to like if they don't get to the conference finals, it's a bust. Like I'm telling you, like I'm not saying their heads are in the clouds with the Knicks because I think the Knicks have had a really, really, really good year, and I think that's a little disrespectful to say like they don't deserve all this hype and all that kind of stuff because I think they do. You're 34-23. You're top 5 in the Eastern Conference.
There's guys in the team that you wouldn't even beginning of the year. You're like,
the thing is,
20 a game.
Like you could get to a conference finals because I do think there's other teams with flaws. But if the season ended today, you're looking at if you win your series against Philly, you're looking at a Boston matchup in the conference semis, and you're not winning that series.
Yeah, but that would be a great series. Like just
it would be sick for the New York Boston, but you're not winning that series. And then you get bounced in the conference semis, and then all this work you did, you went to the same point you did last year. I think Knicks fans are like, they'll tell you like conference semis we at least have to get to, but I think if they lose in the conference semis, they're going to be disappointed in the sense of like, not disappointed we just lost, but disappointed how the whole season kind of played out.
Yeah, but I feel like you could say that for any like a top 4 team.
I think
like if you play really well, you're a top 4 team that year.
Ready?
You don't want to get bounced the first round.
I said second round, but
yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying like
okay. So
disappointing season if you get bounced.
I agree with what you're saying. If you're Boston, Cleveland, Milwaukee, the Knicks, or Philly, and you lose in the conference semis, you're gonna be pissed.
Yeah,
those all 5 teams think they can get to the conference finals. I think Orlando would be okay.
I think they all 4 can
5
if they like. I know I was just saying the Knicks aren't a championship contender, but they can get to the conference.
Yeah, well, dude, if they're the 3 seed. They play Orlando, and then they get Cleveland in the conference semis.
Yeah.
They beat Cleveland last year.
Yeah.
Knicks have to avoid getting Boston in the semis.
Anyway,
if the Knicks if the Knicks avoid Boston in semis, they can get to the conference finals.
No, yeah, I agree.
Because if they match up with Cleveland in the conference semis, they can beat Cleveland. They've beaten Cleveland.
Yeah. No,
That
yeah.
doesn't. That
They've
doesn't.
shown that Cleveland's not as tough as a task as it
That
makes.
doesn't scare me. I don't know if they can beat Milwaukee in the conference semis. I don't think so in the playoffs.
I mean, if Milwaukee never figures it out, they got a good defensive team, you know. Put OG on Giannis.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I forgot OG. It works. It works.
And then I'll bring up, what do you think of the Pacers? They're a scary team. 7 seed. They could play really well. Yeah.
Right now they're tied with Orlando. Orlando's the 6, and they're a game and a half back of Philly and 2 back of New York.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere anytime soon, right? Like,
and Tyrese was hurt with like the hip injury. He was playing not the Tyrese we saw in the early.
I like Indiana. It's probably a little with them in Orlando. Like, this is all I feel like.
Siakam.
Yeah. I do. I think they eventually jump Orlando.
Okay.
I think they might jump Orlando into that 6 seed, and then probably.
Yeah. I think they jump Orlando.
Orlando's. I think. I don't know much about the Pacers. I'm not saying I don't know much about the Pacers, but I don't know what to expect from them because I think they're not there yet to win a series. I don't think.
To me, they're very similar to. I think these 3 teams, Cleveland, Knicks, and Pacers, are kind of similar, where they have stars. Like you got Tyrese, you got Pascal, you got Jalen Brunson, you got Julius Randle, you got who was it? Who was I just talking about? Oh, the Cleveland. You got Donovan Mitchell, you got Evan Mobley. Like
Garland,
they're good. They have the foundation, and they're doing really well. And they kind of are very similar in that aspect, where they don't have a Jason Tatum, they don't have a Joel Embiid, they don't have a Giannis, but they're still gonna be competing. You know, then they're great. And then I'll just bring up the Heat. I mean, they always in this range, and they somehow just go nuts in the playoffs. It's wild.
Ready? Let's say the Heat get to. Let's say the Heat get to the 7 seed. They win the play-in and the 8-7. They beat Indiana. Let's say the season ends today, or they beat Orlando, right? And they're the 7, and they get either maybe the Knicks or Cleveland in the first round. You telling me Miami can't beat them?
No, yeah, I think
they can. And they beat Milwaukee last year. I didn't even throw Milwaukee in there. Like, and they beat Milwaukee last year, right? Like, is Miami the type of team just to like coast through the season, which they did last year?
They've been doing for the past like 3 years,
and then turn up in the playoffs, right? Eventually, that comes back to bite you because they could end up being 8 seed and get Boston in round 1.
Screws them up with their matchups. But I feel like Jimmy Butler doesn't start playing basketball until it's April.
The only team, I don't know, I'll see if you agree. The only team I think Miami can't beat is Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's also just because, I mean, we've seen Boston lose. I just think you can't really see any team beating Boston right now in a 7-game
That's
series.
fair. That's why the Boston thing's weird because like they're so good. They're clearly the best team in the Eastern Conference right now, right?
Yeah.
But they have failed in the postseason, right? And the postseason is not easy.
Basically,
go ask Damian Lillard.
This year's a little different, but they've always had those main 2 guys, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They haven't got the job. When I say the job done, I'm talking about like a finals, which is a high bar. But
exactly, go ask like Damian Lillard or James Harden. Like it's not hard. It's not easy to go win an NBA championship.
Exactly.
But does the addition for ball? We'll end with this maybe on the Eastern Conference. Is the addition of like Drew Holiday and Kristaps?
I think that
probably takes them to a next level.
Porzingis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on the Eastern Conference you want to touch on? We get to the
I would say those are the only teams. Obviously, they're top, but the other teams I wouldn't be too concerned about.
You don't want to talk about my Bulls?
Like the Bulls, the Hawks.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't be concerned about the Magic in the playoffs.
Spicy. They're a little fun.
The Magic? No, yeah, they're fun. They're young. I wouldn't be concerned about.
They're one of those teams that are like they get into the postseason, right? And let's say, for example, they play Milwaukee, right? They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, and they could, win an early game, shake things up, like Magic, and then the series will get the better of them.
Yeah, I agree. But shout out to Orlando. They've been in the dormant basement for years.
The game winner, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, against Detroit. But no, but Orlando. I wasn't taking a shot at Detroit there, but Orlando. look, Orlando's been in the basement, man. Magic fans, if you're listening, I don't know if you're any Magic fans listen to us, but like,
I
enjoy it.
shout out
Enjoy it,
Andrew
right?
Rosemary. He's a
Dude,
Magic
like,
fan. Yeah.
I got my freaking Chicago Bulls with a bunch of veterans at 26 and 30, man. You got young guys, 32 and 25. So,
Yeah.
you got a lot of different
I'm
perspectives.
good.
Okay. As always, make sure you guys follow us on social media, Talking Sports PD. And as always, underdogfantasy.com or the mobile app, use code TSP for a 100% deposit match. Okay, JR, the absolutely loaded Western Conference.
Yeah.
When I say loaded
dicey.
Western Conference, right? The 10s, we're not going to go past, we can talk about Spurs a little bit potentially. I know you wanted to drop Wemby in there, but the 10 seed Golden State Warriors, the final playing spot, JR, are 29 and 26. To put that in perspective, to the Eastern Conference, the final play-in spot in the Eastern Conference, the Atlanta Hawks, the 10 seed, 24 and 32.
Yeah.
That's an insane difference.
And you can't even say it's like top heavy because the East has like Wizards and Detroit Pistons,
Yeah.
Like
So this is so fair. The top four, in my opinion, I think stays the same. Not saying in the order that it currently is, which right now is Minnesota, OKC, Clippers, and Denver.
I mean, the Nuggets are 4 games up.
I do think those are the 4 teams that we end with being the top 4 seed. But if you gave me any certain combination of those 4 seeds, I'd be like, I can't dispute that because I think they're so all evenly matched. And then I think the Pelicans are a cool story. Dallas with the 6th seed, and then obviously the play-ins, Phoenix sitting at the 8th seed. Let's talk those top 4 seeds right now. Let's talk Minnesota. Let's talk OKC. Let's talk the Clippers, and let's talk Denver. Maybe for you with the OKC side for just a second, because that's your team.
Yeah.
We'll talk about them in a minute. But outside of OKC, those 3 teams, what do you like?
See, like, obviously, the Nuggets are, former champs. I'm not too concerned about where they end up in the regular season at this point. I think they're just going to be scary no matter who they play, and they could win any game they play. Clippers could get a little dicey with them. Like, past 2 years, playoffs come around, the whole team just gets injured, and they're like, it's over. But, I was high on them in the beginning. I'm still high on them. The thing with I'm going to talk about the Timberwolves now at the 1 seed. They're a great defensive team. I think they're like the best, one of the top 3 in the league. Do you think they're there yet? Where they could, okay, we're the 1 seed. We're going against, I forget who the 1 seed plays, but like the 8 seed probably. Like if they would get matched up against the Suns at the 8 seed, like
I just thought that, yeah.
Like
the thing is,
the Suns.
We say they're not there yet, and they have no postseason experience really. Along with the Thunder, those are the 2. That's what everyone's gonna be talking about heading into the postseason.
Yeah,
they're 40 and 17, dude. Thunder are 39 and 17.
They're running through these teams.
Those are like insane records. Both teams only have 6 losses at home. Both have won 7 out of 10. Like they're winning games. They're not, like when we said Orlando's not there yet, then that's a difference. Those are 2 different teams.
No, I didn't say they're not there yet. I asked you, are they there yet to compete for finals?
Okay, so I think OKC and Minnesota are going to depend on matchups, right? If you get Sacramento, I like OKC or Minnesota, right?
Yeah,
I do. I don't know. The Phoenix Suns are like the Brooklyn Nets from the years past. They're like, okay, well, if they get in, they're healthy. They have Beal, Booker, and Durant, but they haven't put it together. So do we buy into that? They are 33 and 24. We are acting like they're freaking 24 and 33, I think, sometimes. It's just the Western Conference is so loaded. And they are a game back of the 5 seed.
And first, 30 games, I don't think those big 3 did not play with. No. Like the Nets, they didn't play with each other like any.
Like, Jared, we talked about the top 4 seeds being so interchangeable. 5 through 8, I'm not putting the Lakers in there just yet, but 5 through 8, I think, are so interchangeable.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So,
like, who would have thought the Pelicans would be the better team out of record-wise out of those teams? I wouldn't have. I didn't even think I had them making the playoffs, to be honest.
Go back to your Minnesota question.
Yeah,
Anthony Edwards is a stud.
He's
love me some Anthony Edwards. Gobert, Carl Anthony Towns.
He could stir stuff up in the playoffs. But
if you are matched up with the Phoenix Suns in round 1, that is daunting. Like that has to scare the crap out of you, dude.
Yeah.
As a Thunder fan, because you don't get that in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, but the thing is, and that's why they're not they're the 8th seed right now. And I think that's why the Thunder and the Timberwolves have been so successful in the regular season. Is they're like a team, and the Suns are just 3 superstar scorers that have to carry the load on offense, and you have a bunch of like role player-esque players around them. And let's say Kevin Durant gets into foul trouble, or he tweaks his ankle, Devin Booker gets into foul trouble. Like, just takes like 30% of your scoring, 25% of your scoring out of the game, or out of the series.
Mm-hmm.
And the Thunder, obviously, they rely a ton on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Same with the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards. But they have the right players around them. They got Anthony Edwards, Cat, and then you got Gobert. Protect. Like, everyone has their own responsibility. That's what I like about these teams. But like, that's what the kind of the Nuggets used to be. 1 seed, win maybe a playoff series, lose to a great team. But then they finally figured it out. I feel like the NBA is kind of going towards more the team basketball again, and that's how you're going to win a game, the finals.
Yeah.
Went on a little tangent there, but
I like the Thunder. I love the T-Wolves. Is it one of those years where, like, for me to buy in, do I have to see it? And you can't see it until it happens.
yeah,
right? Like, it's
no.
just, so it's not their
It's
fault.
only going to be one of them. It's not going to be both. I don't think either Timberwolves.
I like the Thunder over Minnesota.
Yeah, I just think the defense for the Timberwolves is just the Thunder still haven't figured it out.
Shoot, you're right. They're only giving them 106. Only is freaking NBA now these days, dude. I'm going on a tangent. So I was watching some D Rose highlights on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Yesterday, this is a weird tangent that I'm going on. It was like 10 years ago, I think it was, right? The score in that game in the fourth quarter, with like a minute and a half left, was like 79-78.
Was that playoffs, regular season?
Regular season.
Yeah.
79-78 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's insane, dude. Teams are dropping to 120 now, 140 now.
Yeah. I mean, it's always, at least, like, you go back to the Bill Russell days, they were still dropping a lot of points. People,
I know, it's just mind-boggling to me. Like that 10 years ago, teams were scoring in the 80s, and then you couldn't win a basketball. You're not winning any basketball game now, scoring 85 points.
No.
So, but back in 10, 12 years ago, you could win a basketball game.
It's also just people are specialized in threes. It just runs up the score even more.
That's true. Yeah, 3-point game is a little more frequent. Let's talk about quickly the Clippers in Denver here. I've bought into the Clippers for years.
Yeah.
And they have completely burned me, and I'm sick of it. You into the season, if you follow us on social media, we put out a clip of you buying into the Clippers preseason, right? They're 37-18. They're right now 3 games, third seed in the West, 2 games back of the 1 seed Timberwolves, and only a game and a half back of your Thunder.
Mm-hmm.
I like this Clippers team. I do. I'm not saying jack shit about them, though. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because I've done it so many times, and I can't do it again. But it might be the year. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, James Harden. This team, like you said, if this team stays healthy, they keep doing their thing, they play unselfish basketball, they can win basketball games. And I think Ty Lue was a hell of a coach, too.
I do, too. And I think, I'm going to say it, even though Denver, are past champs last season, I think the Clippers are the scariest team to play in the playoffs.
You would say that over Denver?
Yeah. Because they could honestly they have the potential to be the best team in the league, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At some times, like in a series, they could play so well, but then they could also play so bad. So I'm saying they're the scariest team to play because if they play up to their potential, I think they're the hardest team to beat because they have so many. They're 2 best players, Kawhi and Paul George, are known for their defense, man, and they're 6'8", 6'9" defenders who could score the hell out of the ball. And then you put in James Harden. If he could get a bucket whenever, but if they just play in that offense, like they have 3 guys who could score 30+ points a game. The only thing is, we've seen this before, like with the Nets, it doesn't work. But I think it's a little different because their 2 best players are defensive-minded players as well.
Look, this is probably the best Clippers team in the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
So Maybe outside that bubble team that was really good, but that failed at the end. And they did make the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago.
And then they have Russell Westbrook coming off the bench.
Yeah.
Which he could be.
Look.
I'm a fan. He could
so
be
would
up
you,
and down, but if he just brings in the energy.
Okay. Would you say the Clippers right now are your most confident team to make it out of the West? You're not going that far because I can't. I'm going Denver still, right?
Like, you mean I'm most confident they're going to make it out of the West?
Yeah.
I'm half them and the Nuggets just because.
Yeah, and also like
just dominate.
You have Denver. You have Jokic, who feels like he doesn't give a crap sometimes in the regular season, but he's so good. And they're still 38-19. They're not.
Yeah.
They're nowhere near having.
Like we said, it's a half-court game, and the best half-court player in the league is Jokic.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about the Pelicans, Mavericks, Kings. We don't have to talk about the Suns and maybe the Lakers.
I'll ask you a question. So we talked about the top 4 teams a lot: Timberwolves, Thunder, Clippers, and Nuggets. That 5 through 10. Who, if it's the Suns, take the Suns out. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah,
who's like the scariest team out of that? Because I know we were a little high on the Suns. They got talent, but take the Suns out of that. What team are you think could shake things up in the playoff series?
I would say Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
Because I think you mentioned half-court players, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Luka Doncic might be the second or third best half-court player in basketball, right? And I don't buy the Pelicans yet.
Yeah, I don't either.
I like Zion. I like Brandon Ingram. I like CJ McCollum. I like those 3. I don't know if they're the scary like out of those teams. The Kings, I like. I'm not going to the Kings. I can't do that. And the Lakers, I think Golden State has too many flaws. I think it's Dallas because I think Luka and Kyrie have been great together. And I think they're starting to turn it on a little, right? They've won 7 in a row.
Yeah.
8 out of the last 10. Like, they're starting to figure it out. They're pushing right now for that 5 seed in that Pelicans. For that Pelicans, it does depend on matchups. Like, if they get Denver in round 1, then what I just said is useless because I think Denver wins that series. But if they get the certain matchup, I think they can cause a lot of troubles because you said half-court game in the playoffs. That's what it becomes, right? And that's what it becomes a lot in the regular season in the NBA anyway. You have Kyrie and you have Luka Doncic, right? Like, I think you can win a lot of basketball games with that duo, and you won 33 so far, and you won 7 in a row. I would probably go Dallas. What about you?
I'll play a little. I'm not going to pick Dallas. I agree with your takes 100%. They could beat the Clippers. They could.
Yeah.
I would go. I think the Kings could stir it up a little bit.
Okay. Go Kings.
Okay, Kings or Warriors, just because we've seen the Warriors in this. They're just a little. They're showing their age this year, and the little Warriors, like you don't know.
They don't have that. They don't have a second option, dude.
Clay's been terrible.
I like Wiggins.
Wiggins has just been. He's been Wiggins.
He's
been good.
Really Steph's 6 in the NBA.
But I think at this point in this team, looking back, like let's say 3 years ago, they were expecting a Kuminga or Moody to be like the next.
Pass the torch a little.
Yeah, exactly. And they've been good, but they haven't been like that second or third option in like a playoff series. That type good.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't really disagree with that. Lakers, we can end with the Lakers maybe, or you want to talk about the Spurs a bit for a second because they've done the same thing.
Spurts of like being so good.
Jared, they've done the same thing every year. They have LeBron and AD, and no one's disputing. Obviously, no one's disputing LeBron James. He has shown his age a little. He's not as good as he used to be. He's still a top 10 player in basketball, right? Yeah. AD is having a really good year, but 25 a game. LeBron's averaging 24.9. Once again, they don't have a third option that they can rely on.
They thought it would be Austin Reeves.
They've done the same thing like 3 years in a row, man.
Yeah, it looks like the same team as 3 years ago.
They don't get shooting. They don't get a legit point guard. No offense to Russell Westbrook, but at that time he wasn't like that legit point guard.
Well, they weren't asking him to be that.
Yeah. Like D'Lo, I like D'Lo and I like D'Angelo Russell, but we know exactly what D'Angelo Russell is: a very, very inconsistent player that can drop 25 on you, and then the next night go 2 for 12.
Yeah.
That's D'Angelo Russell, and it's not like you don't know that. You've 8+ years of basketball knowing exactly what D'Angelo Russell is. He isn't some new commodity. You know exactly what he is, and you knew exactly what he was going to get, what you were going to get, and they still bought into it. So if I'm a Lakers fan, I'm annoyed that we haven't invested in a legit third option. It doesn't have to be a superstar, but you need a third option.
Yeah. And I'm just annoyed with Anthony Davis. I mean, he hasn't been like bad. Don't get me wrong, but he he could take over a game, and that's what like LeBron James needs at this point in his career. He needs someone like he's still gonna be like give you 24 and like 8 assists and maybe 7 rebounds, but he needs Anthony Davis to be what he came in and signed to be, which is like just take over. And sometimes he just doesn't show any energy as much. Because he could take over a game, especially in the half court, throw it down to him. Like he could compete with Jokic. I think he has that potential, but he just doesn't.
And they've been healthy.
They have been.
And they've also been a brutal JR road team.
Yeah.
They're 20-9 at home, but 11-18 on the road. To put that in perspective, the Warriors are 13-12 at home, right? Like you got to go win. I mean, on the road, you got to go win road games. Like you have the same road record as the Chicago Bulls. That ain't good. You don't want to have the same road record as the Chicago Bulls. You got to win road games.
Yeah.
You would think LeBron and AD would be able to be better than 11-18 on the road, and it's not just them. It's
they could play it so well, but
dude, this is for an episode this spring into the summer. LeBron James has a player option.
Yeah.
This is the first time he could be a free agent in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe the last time in his career.
Look, he might opt out and then come back. That
Yeah.
could be a possibility, but does he believe in what they're building for if he wants to go win another championship? Because I think he does want to go win another championship. I don't know if he can do that with the Lakers.
I agree.
So, okay. Do you want to bring up Wemby or you want to get out of here?
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna like throw out like what would have been like our biggest disappointments this year, and you could go Pistons, you could go Wizards. I would go San Antonio Spurs, just because I didn't think they would be this bad. Like I knew they weren't like, oh, they draft Wemby, they're not just going to the playoffs. Like it takes time, and he's very raw. But like they have the worst record in the West, like worse than the Grizzlies and Trailblazers. Who Grizzlies roster has been totally depleted this year. Trailblazers, they traded Dame. I mean, they have some good players on that team, but like really, they've not so like Sohan's on the team, but he's not like crazy good. Vassell and the other
Keldon Johnson.
Yeah, Keldon Johnson, and then you got they. I felt like they had a good young core. I don't know why they're starting to.
They're bad, dude.
Guard. Should be like Trey Jones. Honestly, they don't have a point guard, but I didn't think there'd be 11-46. What about you?
No, I didn't think they'd be this bad. I don't know who my biggest disappointment is because I think most of the teams that are disappointing are still in a playoff spot. Because a lot of the teams that didn't make or not in the playoff spot right now are teams that I didn't think were going to make the playoffs.
Maybe the Hawks.
Yeah, the Hawks. Yeah, 20
or the Nets.
Yeah, the Bulls are just putrid too, so you have that as well.
Yeah, but we knew the Bulls like were in this 8, 9, 10 spot.
I think like 500, but okay. And like Memphis is you have to put an asterisk because they lost John Morant and they wouldn't be this bad. So that doesn't count. And we knew Portland was going to be
maybe the
bad.
Suns.
8 seed. Yeah, like Milwaukee. You think they'd be, but they're still third, but they're 9 back of first. Like I think there'd be 9 back of first.
Yeah,
that might be a team. I don't know. Like, look, Charlotte is like brutal. Like, what the hell is going on? Like,
what are you talking about, Charlotte? What about the Wizards or the Pistons?
They're bad too. Like, I knew the Wizards were gonna be bad. I thought the Pistons should be a little better with Monty Williams as your head coach.
Yeah. I mean, like, what do you expect out of Charlotte? Got LaMelo.
I think just Charlotte in general just doesn't know how to freaking build a team.
Yeah.
They're atrocious at it, dude. Yeah. LaMelo played 22 games.
Yeah. He got that ankle injury early in the year.
Is he always going to be injured, man?
Maybe. But I wouldn't throw that statement out there.
Okay, okay. Detroit's bad too. Like Detroit, obviously 8-48. They were one of the worst starts ever.
And they had Cade, Ivy,
I like Ivy. Like,
and then Jalen Duran, right? Not Durant.
he's averaging 14 and 12.
He's having like you'd think like they'd at least be like a Raptors or Nets spot right now, you know?
No, they're bad. They're very bad. Yeah, I didn't think they'd be this bad. Again, Toronto's sold at the deadline because they got rid of Pascal. And OG. They're retooling.
You know, I think like
which is smart in my opinion.
The NBA. I'll throw this like statement out. Like the NBA was, you saw it like the past 5-6 years. Usually like the number one ranked guy out of high school or the number one going in the draft was like a 6'8" ball handling point guard type. And you saw the trend going to like more taller, more better ball handle, like a forward that plays point guard, basically, like a Cade Cunningham. And I think it's going to start going back a little bit because those like a Ben Simmons, a Cade Cunningham, like they don't win games, which I don't know what it is, but like it just hasn't been working. Like I
Dyson
can't.
Daniels.
Yeah, well, he's a little different. I'm
joking. He just came to my mind for some reason.
But you know what I'm saying though, like those number one spots, like Well, LaMelo's, I'd say he's different. He's more of a point guard that shoots. Like I'm thinking like the forwards that can't really shoot as well.
You're saying the guys that are guards that really can't shoot, but
like a Ben Simmons, Cade Cunningham could shoot. Don't get me wrong, but like he's not known for his 3-point.
I get what you're saying.
Like LaMelo is known for his 3-point.
I get what you're saying. A lot of the true point guards are still smaller guards.
Yeah, and
that win championships, right?
Like teams, Jamal Murray, Drew Holiday,
Damian Lillard.
Yeah, like they still have
Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, both like smaller guards.
Anthony Edwards, Shea, he plays a totally different style. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's still
Kyrie's a true point guard.
Kyrie, yeah.
De'Aaron Fox was having an elite year. Even Steph Curry. Yeah.
De'Aaron Fox, you just said. So like
Tyrese is probably the one exception.
Yeah, I'd say Tyrese and Shea are like a little.
Tyrese can shoot the ball.
Yeah, he can, 100%. But he's still like a taller.
If you're a 6'5" point guard that can shoot the ball, then
throw like 12 assists a game. So
exactly, Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like it still works, and I think the NBA's pivoted too early, and now they're like realizing like, oh, maybe that's not the option.
Yeah. Okay.
There, but I think I gotta say it.
No, you're good, man. Okay, we're gonna get out of here. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed our little I'm not gonna say rant, but just our conversation about the state of the NBA heading into our post All-Star break. The remaining 20 to 30 games, whatever the number is, and then into the playoffs. And then obviously we'll give you guys our playoff episode when the playoffs come to town.
Right now, just off the top of your head,
God damn it,
throw a finals matchup out there. We'll clip this if it happens.
I'll go Boston and then I'll go Denver.
Okay. I'm going Bucks Clippers. All right. Just so we have it in the in the clips, just in case, Yeah. And then we'll obviously have a playoff video coming out before the playoffs start.
Yeah. Okay, Jared. Where can everyone follow us on social media and who are we sponsored by?
Yeah, guys, we are on Instagram, X. Sorry, I keep saying Twitter and TikTok at Talking Sports PD. Please throw us a follow if you like our content. And then Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code TSP. Your first time signing up for 100% deposit match up to $100. It's sort of free money at that if you're winning your bets or parlays or pick'ems. So use code TSP Underdog Fantasy first time signing up.
Yep. And as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Drop a like. Drop a comment. Give us your thoughts on anything that we talked about or anything regarding the NBA. We got some baseball stuff coming out on videos, podcasts, social media, and we got some March Madness stuff coming out very, very soon. And then NFL draft, NBA playoffs, NBA draft, and something that I think I mentioned to Jared maybe a week or two ago. We got a couple golf majors coming up eventually, and we can give you guys our golf episode. Yeah, we love our golf episodes, a sport that we don't know much about, but we love talking.
We play, and we think we know that.
We think we know, and we give you, hey, Hey, we did 4 major episodes last year, and we
Me
picked
too,
2
right?
winners.
Yeah. I think
So
they were back to back too.
yeah, we picked 2 winners, guys. So I'm excited. I love those episodes for some reason. One of my favorite type of episodes to do. It's just fun. It's a fun episode. So we got that coming for you guys as always. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, leave a review. And if you're on YouTube, drop a comment. We really appreciate it. That's going to do it for us. He was JR. I was Peter. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.